go beyond what you think you're capable of because you get caught up in the moment.
She wants us to show out the talent instead of hiding it.
We really thought it was a good way to address barriers and stereotypes about disability.
Dance with people in wheelchairs is something I've never done before.
But it's a brilliant way to tackle issues and ignorance as well.
I think something like dance, especially where it's very physical, people are touching, they're doing routines together, they're moving and working with each other, that breaks down a huge amount of barriers.
Really good, like it was completely different to anything I'd ever done.
I'm always dancing, me.
The project came about because St. Kevin's Family Resource Centre has two groups meeting in the centre. A group from the Irish Wheelchair Association Youth Service and a group from Tala Youth Service. It's the California Feroga Club. They approached me because they had the idea to get the two groups together, and they thought using the arts might be a great way to break down barriers for having the young group from the Irish Wheelchair Association with issues of disability to work with the Tala Youth Service group. They came to me and they asked me to be a part of a steering committee to come up with some ideas. So I talked to them about some different art forms that might work. We got a panel of the young people together, two from each side, to meet with a few artists and see what kind of art form they might want to work with. So the young people from the get-go were on board with trying to work together.
I think the project is important from an inclusion point of view because it brings young people together who maybe don't otherwise have too many opportunities to meet up, particularly young people with disabilities. They may not get out or have the same social opportunities or the same chances to join youth services. There are barriers there. And from an artistic point of view, I think dance is something that the young people with disabilities, maybe you're not going to associate that with them. So it's an artistic project that maybe you won't imagine a wheelchair user could take part in or should take part in. So it kind of affects people's perceptions in a positive way there, showing that there are ways and means for people to be involved in dance no matter what their situation.
Well, we spoke to the young people in the clubs and also young people who are involved in summer programmes that we were running at the moment, and the response was very enthusiastic.
After doing the breakaway with the youth club, we just got a text from Andy saying that we could do this dance workshop, and it was very different than I thought it was going to be, but it was good. Completely different to anything I'd ever done. Something that I'd quite like to do again.
And this was something that was interesting to them, I suppose, because it was something that they're interested in anyway, maybe dance or performing arts, but it had this other element of working with young people with disabilities as well. So I think they were interested and wanted to find out more.
Within St. Kevin's we have very active youth groups. Up until now they've come from the Irish Wheelchair Association and then Tala Youth Service, which is California Feroga Club. They were working kind of in isolation from each other. Some of us within the centre thought it would be really interesting to try and bring the two groups together and have maybe a more integrated approach. I suppose in the past those two groups wouldn't have had an opportunity to interact. This was trying to give them, open up new opportunities for them to get to know each other and maybe break down some barriers and make friendships. But also to kind of challenge as well our own ideas around disabilities. We felt then that dance or some kind of arts would have been a really interesting way of engaging with young people. And particularly the dance challenging on many different levels, like the physicality level. That also helps break down a lot of the barriers between young people where they really have to engage and get to know each other.
We had Creaglan come and meet with the group, the integrated dance company based in Cork. So the partners in the organising of the project, St. Kevin's Family Resource Centre, Tala Youth Service, South Dublin County Council and the Irish Wheelchair Association pulled together to get Creaglan in to work with the group to kind of kickstart a long-term arts project for the two youth services. One of the great things about working with a dance company like Creaglan is they're They start from the basis of being an integrated dance company. There is no issue of inclusion as an add-on. It's the foundation. There are no barriers. And when you work in kind of movement and dance with people in wheelchairs and people that aren't using wheelchairs, you kind of have to face any fear, hesitancy, anxiety head on. A lot of people would, I think, tend to ignore disability rather than kind of acknowledge and move on from it. Creaglan is a dance company that addresses that issue. They use dance as a form to let us see what the body can do regardless of what kind of situation one's body might be in, which I think is a really good thing. And it's also, in a sense, makes contemporary dance for a lot of people very accessible, because you would have ideas about what dance is from ballet and things like that. And what I think a company like Creaglan does is they throw all that out, and they really make you rethink what's possible.
I set up the company 3 years ago with Rona Collin, and I had been working in integrated dance in San Francisco, and I really wanted to come home and set up an integrated company here. So I went into the Firk and Crane, which is the main dance centre in Cork, and talked to Paul McCarthy, and he, just by fluke, this woman Rona had come in a couple of days earlier and said she was looking for integrated dance classes. So we started talking on the phone, and I mean, bless her, she just said, yes, I'll set up the company with you. And we started by having a whole bunch of introductory integrated weekends which were basically just like today. A whole lot of people who'd never done an integrated dance, probably never done contemporary dance or even knew what contemporary dance was, came into a room together. None of them had ever met each other, and we just did a whole series of trust games and movement exercises and developed pieces out of them.
I think having Creaglan in is excellent for us, because Creaglan involve facilitators and professional dancers. Some of them use wheelchairs and they're wheelchair users. We have a lady called Mary in there today who's working alongside Tara, and that provides a lot of inspiration for our young people to see that here's someone who is using a wheelchair, but she is a professional dancer, she's an instructor or a facilitator, whatever you like, and to see her perform and to be involved in leading the workshops, I think it's not only an inspiration for our young people, but it also gives young people without disabilities a better impression of what can be done by people with disabilities, you know. So it's very much a case of us being able to focus on the ability of the person rather than just seeing the wheelchair or the disability the whole time.
I think having workshops with non-wheelchair users and wheelchair users is a superb idea, because it's integration on a completely different level. It's integration through something very physical, very intense, and within the first half an hour, all the inhibitions are gone out the window.